Hello and welcome to a tactical history of Liverpool. The Reds may have been knocked out of Europe, but they were still in the title race domestically. By March, there were 4 teams left in it. The 2 Manchester clubs, United and City, Leeds and Liverpool. Liverpool sat in 3rd place, 5 points behind leaders Manchester United. They had gone most of the winter undefeated, but fell at the start of February, losing the derby to Everton and away to Chelsea. They bounced back to beat Leicester in their next game, and now had to travel to the Midlands to face Wolverhampton Wanderers. 10 years prior, Wolves had been the best team in the country. When Stan Cullis retired as a player due to injury in 1947, Wolves had just missed out on winning their first ever league title on the final day of the season, losing to Liverpool to hand them the trophy instead.
He was playing okay, but he left Stubbins clear, and Stubbins got the winner, and we lost 2-1. If we'd have drawn, we'd have won the championship.
This wasn't even the first time this had happened to Wolves, losing to Sunderland on the final day of the 1937-38 season to hand Arsenal the league instead. Cullis had joined Wolves as a teenager and quickly rose through the ranks, becoming club captain under Frank Buckley. A disciplinarian who had risen to the rank of major in the British Army during the First World War, Buckley achieved only modest success as a manager himself, but his influence would be felt long after. One of the first tracksuit managers, getting involved in training with his players, he also set up youth programs at several of his clubs, as well as concocting more eccentric innovations, such as having his players dance across the pitch in pairs with music blaring out over the public address system, and spreading the rumour that he was injecting his players with extracts of monkeylands to aid performance. Major Buckley implanted into my mind the direct method of playing which did away with close interpassing and square ball play, said Cullis. If you didn't like his style, you'd very soon be on your bicycle to another club. He didn't like defenders over-elaborating in their defensive positions. Their job, he maintained, was to get the ball to the forwards as quickly as possible. Upon his retirement from playing, Cullis became the assistant to Buckley's successor Ted Bizzard. A year later, aged just 31 years old, he would take over as manager. In his first season in charge, Cullis would become the youngest manager to win the FA Cup, and in 1954, Wolves would finally win their first league title, before adding 2 more in 1958 and 1959. Wolves' success also led directly to the start of the European Cup. They had floodlights installed at Molineux and began playing friendlies against foreign opposition, beating the likes of Dynamo Moscow and Spartak Moscow before facing up against Hungarian giants Honved. Honved took an early 2-goal lead, but struggled to utilise their passing game in the second half as the pitch grew boggier, and they ended up losing 3-2. It had already been raining for 4 days prior to the game, yet Cullis sent out the apprentices to water it further. It was another technique taken from his mentor. Major Buckley used to flood the pitch nearly every home game, Cullis recalled, because he was convinced that he had a team of players who could play better on a heavy pitch. After the game, the English press declared Wolves to be champions of the world, but others were less convinced. Before we declare that Wolverhampton Wanderers are invincible, let them go to Moscow and Budapest, wrote L'Équipe editor Gabriel Hano. And there are other internationally renowned clubs, AC Milan and Real Madrid to name but 2. A Club World Championship, or at least the European one, should be launched. A year later, the European Cup was born. Following Buckley's example, Cullis was a proponent of direct football, hitting the ball long to get it to the forwards quickly and avoid losing it in dangerous defensive positions. With England internationals Bert Williamson and Billy Wright, Wolves were defensively strong, and they would quickly feed the ball to wingers Jimmy Mullen and Johnny Hancocks to get crosses in early. The duty of the defensive players was to get the ball up to the forwards with accuracy, so that they were relieved of any tension as far as the defence was concerned, Cullis said. But also they were happy to release the ball to the forwards so that we could be on the attack rather than be on the defensive. If the defenders in the Wolves team delay their clearances, the ball will be in front of our goal for too long a period, and the scoring chances will go to the other side. If too much time is spent in building up our own attacks, the ball will spend less of the game in the other team's penalty area, and of course, we shall score fewer goals. When Wolves got their first chance at the European Cup, they were knocked out in the first round by Schalke, and although they made it to the quarter-finals for next season, they were thrashed 9-2 on aggregate by Barcelona. Wolves steamrolled people, physically, temperamentally, and the manager, Stan Cullis, personified the same spirit, said David Miller. You went through people as much as you went around them. That's how Wolves played when beating Honved and Spartak in those early floodlit friendlies at Molineux, and then suddenly we got European football, and Wolves were left beating the air against Barcelona, totally lost. They spent the whole match within 3 yards of the ball and never touched it because Barcelona ran rings around them by using the ball and movement off the ball. Wolves would go on to win the FA Cup that season and missed out on the league by just 1 point, However, their decline began as they entered the 60s. They would finish third the next season, but then crashed to 18th in 61-62 and 16th in 63-64. In September 1964, Cullis was surprisingly sacked by Wolves despite all he had done for the club, and it didn't do anything to improve their situation. They would never exit the relegation zone all season, dropping down into the second division. We meet them in their first season back in the top flight, after Ronnie Allen guided them to promotion in his first managerial role. Going into this game, they sat in 20th place, only staying out of the relegation zone thanks to their superior goal average. Allen had them set up in a 4-2-4 shape. Bill Shankly made one change to the team we saw in episode 18, with Tony Hateley replacing Jeff Strong in attack. Liverpool set up in a 4-2-4 formation. Wolves started the game at a high pace. They generally sent the ball long, and although Liverpool's defenders were often winning their aerial duels, Wolves would press the second ball and look to win it back high up the pitch. Wolves also pressed Liverpool when they attempted to pass out, cornering the Reds and forcing them into kicking long. Liverpool attempted to slow the game down, calmly passing the ball at a low speed, but the home side did a good job of trapping the Liverpool players and forcing them to speed up, kicking the ball long or risk losing it. Once they won back the ball, Wolves would attack at speed, breaking forward to overload the Liverpool defence with quick 1 or 2 touch passes. Whereas Wolves were looking dangerous, title-chasing Liverpool weren't getting anywhere when they had possession. The slow passing at least made Wolves chase them, but they weren't able to work the ball forward. When they pumped it long, Wolves were winning it straight back. Nevertheless, Wolves can keep up this high level of intensity forever. By the midpoint of the first half, Wolves weren't pressing quite so hard, and Liverpool were able to get themselves into the game. They often sent the ball long to Tony Hateley, and they did their usual tricks with their wingers. Peter Thompson switched across to the right to get more involved in the game, while Ian Callaghan came inside into the middle, where he fired a series of stinging shots at Phil Parkes. Not getting pushed back by Wolves so much as he was early on, Ian St John was also able to push forward from midfield to join the attack. It was just as Liverpool seemed to be winning control after their poor start that Wolves took the lead. They hit a long ball forward to Derek Dougan in attack, and he knocked it down for Alan Evans, who knocked it wide to Dave Wagstaff. The winger dribbled past Tommy Smith's challenge and pushed forward on the ball as Peter Knowles overlapped down the left, before releasing the ball to his teammate. Rather than following Knowles' run, Chris Lawler was caught square, allowing Knowles to attack the byline, with Emlyn Hughes unable to get across and reach him in time. Knowles crossed to Dougan at the back post to head across the line. With Wolves dropping off to protect their lead, and Liverpool in need of a goal, the Reds spent the rest of the game on the attack. Wolves were still pumping the ball long, but not committing nearly as many men to their attacks, enabling Liverpool to recover the ball and get back on the attack easily. Smith pushed forward into midfield as he usually did.
St John.
St John moved up into attack more than he had in the first half, while Hughes also got forward. Liverpool got their equaliser 11 minutes from time with a corner. Ron Yates rose to meet Callaghan's cross, and although Wolves stopped the initial header, Roger Hunt got to the loose ball to scramble it across the line. That Liverpool were able to rescue a point from a poor performance was a good sign in their hunt for the title, but they were struggling against a team near the foot of the table, especially one that hadn't won in 8 games prior to this match, was not. Much like the Newcastle game from episode 17, Liverpool looked like they could be physically overpowered by a team that they should have had more than enough quality to beat. Just 4 points off top spot, Liverpool was still in the title race. However, they needed to be playing better than this if they were going to emerge victorious come the end of the season. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to support the channel. You can get updates on what I'm doing by following on Twitter and Facebook, links are in the description, but most importantly by supporting Holding Midfield on Patreon. Without financial support, I can't justify the time it goes into making these videos to keep the channel alive while also receiving access to premium content. Thanks for watching.